A very good morning to you, Aviwe Mtila, and I suppose it's quite the incident that's got both the family of the murdered educator as well as the children in that school. But what are the details surrounding this particular shooting?
Well, colleague, we do know it happened at around 2 o'clock yesterday as the school was coming out for Aranani Primary School right here in Protea Glen, Soweto. As the school was coming out, we do understand that these hijackers tried to hijack one of the Avanzas, but went on to then try to drag out Eugene Chililo, who is the 34-year-old father of one of the 7-year-old learners. And as that was happening, that's when then we do understand Chililo was shot down. The family is devastated, colleague. We spoke to the mother of Eugene Chililo, who was in tears, could hardly get out a word from her, but she was asking why, Lord, even saying that she hoped it would have been her rather than her son, who is, of course, the breadwinner. The wife there was right next to her, just crying the whole entire time. And in fact, we went on then to speak to the family spokesperson, who's also the cousin of Eugene Chililo, who disturbingly told us that they heard this news firsthand from the 7-year-old son who was there in the car when the father lost his life. In fact, I want you to take a listen to Felicia Kaiser as she details that.
My cousin was a very quiet person, shy person. He's not a kind of a person who would always cause fight out there. I'm so shocked to hear what happens to him, but honestly, I never expected this. He's a very kind person. The person who explained to us it's his son, because the whole incident happened while his son was watching. The son said apparently there were 4 guys who were hijacking a certain lady, and then they pulled the son out of the car, and he was with other kids. They pulled them out of the car and they tried to pull Eugene out of the car. They said he should get out, and he couldn't. He didn't want to get out of the car, so they ended up shooting him. So they suggested that the idea behind it's like probably Eugene knows those guys, so they were scared that Eugene is going to be a witness, so that is why they decided to kill him. He's so traumatized. You can imagine a 7-year-old son. He's so traumatized. He's so shattered, he's so broken, he's a mess.
Very devastating turn of events there for him, Aviwe. But give us a sense of initial investigations that may be taking place, and if there are some leads in terms of who could have done this and whether there are any arrests that could be looming.
I actually asked one of the police people that were police officers that were inside the house while the family was still here, and they say that there are no suspects at this time. In fact, earlier on we disturbingly spoke to another scholar transport driver who was there together with the other Avanza, driving her own Avanza. She says that she was chased by the same perpetrators after they had gone and killed Eugene Chililo. They also tried to take her Avanza, and she sped off, colleague, with children and learners inside the car. You can imagine that traumatic experience. But the family is now just left, colleague. We do understand the mother of Eugene Chililo as well as the wife have gone to a doctor to try and get some help there. But we do also understand that the rest of the family members have gone to the mortuary. But just to get a better understanding of what's been done for the family, I'm going to bring in the Department of Education spokesperson, that is Steve Mabona. Steve, thank you for joining us at eNCA, even if it's under these difficult circumstances. But earlier on in speaking to Felicia Kaiser, she sort of mentioned that they hadn't received counseling as family. I just want to get an understanding of what the department is going to assist with, or what has happened so far for the family.
No, thanks very much, Mtila. Look, the family spokesperson was not here when the professionals arrived to interact with the parents, because they had to request permission to interact with the child, because the priority for us was the child, because he witnessed, everything. And like as you've already indicated, that is the one that narrated the story to them. So our priority was to make sure that the child is taken through the process of a debrief professionals have a way of doing it. So they had to get permission, and they managed to get that permission, and that process is now done. We also extended that service to the family, but the doctors then, guided the family to say, because of the state that they are in now, let them go to the GP to consult so that they can then calm them down, and they will be in a position to come back and continue with the process of assisting. The process started at the school. We identified learners that needed that attention. You know that some of them might have witnessed. Some they are probably in the same class with the child that is here, this family. So they might have been impacted dearly. So, including our educators, the wellness program has already started. So, for the better part of this week, our officials will be between the school and the family, because the family has indicated that probably they are planning to go bury in Limpopo. So we will be on a constant liaison supporting both the family and the school community.
I know the MEC touched a bit on it in terms of what might happen, but I want to get that understanding from when this incident happened. What were the talks from the Department of Education in protecting learners inside the school? Because this happened quite brazenly in broad daylight at around 2 o'clock. What's going to happen?
No, like I said, the MEC has already indicated that we will put a proposal to the community safety to say, out of the 6,000 officers that are going to be appointed, schools must also be prioritized, because you know that we have patrollers in our schools, but patrollers are not armed. If something were to happen, they are the first one to run away. So you need people that will probably be armed as well, who will be in a position to defend our children, learners, and anyone that is around our school. So that priority is something that we're going to put on the table. You know that the Premier has talked highly of us making sure that the lawlessness that we see must be eradicated, and all those programs that are aligned to crime prevention, and we will raise our hand as education to say, can we be prioritized, because we cannot continue to see some of these incidences that are happening in and around our schools.
And how many schools do you have, maybe a general idea around Gauteng, and how will this then work? Will they be police officers on a 24-hour basis or during the schooling hours? And how soon can we have it on the ground?
No, the priority is in the mornings when learners are arriving, and in the afternoons, because that's where there's a lot of movements. But like as we've indicated, it's something that we need to put on the table, and we're not sure how it's going to be received, but we are very confident that probably we will be assisted, because we've been saying that we cannot use budget of educators. The former MEC would have told you that if we were to be choosing between employing a security and an educator, we'll go for an educator. So that's our priority. But now that we have these new developments, which they are about combating crime and making sure that there's presence of this Gauteng province in our townships as a priority. I mean, something that the Premier has announced. So we will piggyback on that, and surely our schools will be prioritized. But it cannot be in all schools. I mean, like as MEC has already indicated, that there's areas that you need to prioritize and make sure that as a matter of agency, those areas are attended first, and then other areas will then also be given priority, looking at the situation or the environment in those townships.
All right, thank you very much. Steve Mabona is the spokesperson of the Department of Education in Gauteng, saying that they now going to look at prioritizing security in and around these schools. If you are to ask the councillor colleague of Ward 34 here in Protea Glen on how rampant the crime is, he'll tell you that just on Saturday morning there was a body that was found here. Yesterday, Eugene Chilo lost his life outside the school, and this morning another body was found in Protea Glen. That will tell you of the serious nature and how this scourge of criminality, not only in Protea Glen but around the country even, has gotten out of hand.
Yes, and it's unfortunate, Aviwe Mtila, that we are reactionary in our action as opposed to being proactive, given the various other examples that you've just cited for us. That is senior reporter Aviwe Mtila, who is giving us a sense of the details around the killing of that teacher in Protea.